One thing, listen carefully, and if you have the courage, listen till the end. If you can understand English, if you can read it, but your mouth freezes when you try to speak, this is not an accident. This is a hidden mistake almost every English learner is making, and nobody talks about it. The truth is, you are practicing English in the wrong place. You are training your brain, but English is spoken with the mouth. Your mouth has never been trained for English. That is why it freezes at the moment of speaking. This is not a confidence problem. This is not a grammar problem. This is a muscle level problem no teacher talks about. And until this clicks, you can watch 100 videos. Speaking will never feel natural. In this video, I will not give you rules. I will show you where the real block is hiding. And once you understand this, it becomes hard to stop speaking. So let me ask you something. Have you ever been in a moment where someone asks you a question in English, and inside your head you know exactly what you want to say? The answer is right there, clear, complete. You can see the words in your mind, but the second you open your mouth, something breaks. The words get stuck. They come out wrong, or they don't come out at all. And then later, maybe 5 minutes later, when you're alone, you replay that moment, and suddenly the sentence flows perfectly in your head, smooth, natural, exactly the way you wanted to say it. You think, why couldn't I say it like that when it mattered? This happens because your brain and your mouth are living in two separate worlds. Your brain understands English. Your mouth has no idea how to speak it. And the gap between these two is where all your frustration lives. Most people spend years trying to close that gap by feeding their brain more vocabulary, more grammar, more listening. And yes, their understanding gets better, but speaking stays stuck because the brain was never the problem. Let me explain what I mean. When you read English, your brain is doing all the work. Your eyes scan the words. Your mind processes the meaning. You understand it. But your mouth is silent. It's not moving. It's not practicing. It's just there. You've done this 1,000 times. You've read articles, books, messages, subtitles. Your brain has been trained to understand English really well, but your mouth has been sitting on the sidelines, completely untrained. Now, speaking is a completely different thing. Speaking is not a mental skill, it's a physical one. Your tongue has to move in ways it's never moved before. Your lips have to shape sounds that don't exist in your native language. Your jaw has to open and close at certain rhythms. Your breath has to coordinate with your voice. All of this has to happen together at the same time without you thinking about each movement. And if your mouth has never practiced these movements, it will freeze. Not because you don't know the words, but because your mouth doesn't know how to form them. Think about it like this. Imagine watching someone play the guitar. You see their fingers move across the strings. You watch which frets they press. You understand the pattern. You even memorize it mentally. Now, if I hand you a guitar and say, play that song, what happens? Your fingers won't move the way you saw in the video. They'll feel stiff, clumsy, slow, because watching is not the same as doing. Your brain understood the song, but your fingers were never trained. This is exactly what happens with English. You've been watching, reading, listening, but your mouth has been silent. And now when it's time to speak, your mouth doesn't have the physical ability to produce the sounds your brain knows. This is why you can say, I understand English, but I can't speak it. You do understand it, your brain knows it, but your mouth hasn't learned it yet. And here's what makes this worse. You try to fix it by studying more grammar. You think, maybe if I understand the rules better, speaking will get easier. So you memorize tenses, you study sentence structures, you take notes. And yes, your knowledge grows, but when you try to speak, the same freezing happens. Because grammar is information, speaking is movement. These are two completely different things.
Then someone tells you, just be confident, don't worry about mistakes. And you try, you push yourself, but that hesitation is still there. That split second before every word where your mouth doesn't know what to do. Because confidence doesn't teach your mouth how to move. Confidence might help you start, but it can't make your mouth produce sounds it's never practiced. Then you hear, speak slowly, take your time. So you slow down. You think before each word. And yes, it feels a bit easier, but it also feels forced, unnatural, like you're building each sentence piece by piece in your head. It doesn't feel like real speaking. It feels like translation. And this is where most people stay stuck, doing the same things over and over, hoping something will change. But nothing changes because they're still training the wrong system. They keep feeding the brain while the mouth stays hungry. Let me say this directly. Your brain already knows enough English. You can understand conversations, you can follow movies with subtitles, you can read and comprehend. Your brain is not the issue. The issue is that your mouth has never been moved for English the way it moves for your native language. In your native language, you don't think before speaking. Words just come out. And the reason is simple. Your mouth has repeated those sounds thousands of times since you were a child. Your tongue, your lips, your jaw, they have muscle memory. They know exactly what to do without you thinking about it.
But in English, your mouth is still a beginner. It hasn't built that memory. So every time you try to speak, your mouth is figuring out how to move in real time. And that's why it feels slow. That's why it feels forced. That's why it freezes. Now here's something most people never realize. The sounds in English are not the same as the sounds in your native language. The way your tongue moves is different. The way you shape your lips is different. Even the way air flows out of your mouth is different. Some English sounds need your tongue between your teeth. Some need your lips rounded in a specific way. Some need air pushed from the back of your throat. If your mouth has never practiced these movements, it will struggle, not because you're bad at English, but because the muscles aren't used to it. Imagine someone walking into a gym for the first time. They pick up weights and their arms shake. Their muscles feel weak. Does this mean they're incapable of getting strong? No, it just means their muscles haven't been trained yet. After a few weeks of practice, those same weights feel lighter. The muscles adapt. Your mouth works the same way. It needs repetition. It needs movement. It needs to practice the sounds until they become easy. But here's the mistake most people make. They practice by reading silently. They practice by listening to podcasts. They practice by watching videos. And all of these help your brain, but none of them train your mouth. Your mouth only learns when it moves, when it speaks, when it makes sounds out loud. I'm not talking about jumping into full conversations. I'm talking about training the basic movements first, individual sounds, syllables, rhythm. Because if your mouth can't produce clean sounds on their own, it will struggle with full sentences. It's like trying to run before learning how to walk properly. You'll stumble, you'll fall. The foundation has to be built first. Now let me talk about something that changes everything once you see it. Emotion. Most people think speaking is just words and grammar, but speaking is tied to how you feel. When you're relaxed, your mouth moves freely. When you're tense, your throat tightens, your jaw locks, your tongue feels stiff. Think about a time when you were excited about something in your native language. The words just poured out. You didn't plan, you didn't think, you just spoke. That's because your emotion was loose, your mouth was open, your energy was flowing. Now think about a time when you were nervous. Maybe you had to speak in front of people. Even in your own language, you probably stumbled, your voice shook, you forgot what you wanted to say.
not because you forgot your language, but because your emotion changed how your muscles moved. The same thing happens in English. If you feel fear or pressure every time you try to speak, your mouth tenses up, and a tense mouth can't move smoothly. The sounds get trapped, the words feel heavy.
This is why some people speak English perfectly when they're alone, but freeze when someone is listening. It's not a skill problem, it's an emotional block affecting the physical system. So when you practice, you need to create a space where your mouth feels safe, where there's no judgment, no pressure, no fear of sounding wrong. Because tension is the real enemy, not mistakes. This is also why recording yourself feels so uncomfortable at first. You hear your voice in English and it sounds strange, foreign. You immediately think, that sounds terrible. But what's really happening is this. You're hearing your mouth in a new mode. You're hearing it try to produce sounds it's not used to yet. And instead of seeing this as progress, you see it as failure. So you stop recording. You avoid it. But recording is one of the most powerful tools you have. Not because it magically makes you better, but because it gives you feedback. It shows you where your mouth is unclear, where you're rushing, where you're pausing too much. Your ears catch things your brain can't catch while you're speaking. When you listen back, you're training two things at once. Your mouth learns to move better. Your ear learns to hear the difference. The same goes for practicing in front of a mirror. It's not about looking at yourself. It's about seeing how your mouth moves. Are your lips shaping the sounds correctly? Is your jaw too tight? Is your tongue in the right place? Most people never watch their mouth while speaking English. They just hope it's doing the right thing. But awareness is what creates change. When you see and hear yourself at the same time, your brain gets a full picture, and that picture helps you adjust. But let me be clear about something. Slow speaking is not the destination. It's a tool. It's training. It's not where you stay. When you speak slowly, you give your mouth time to find the correct positions. You remove the rush. You focus on accuracy. And this is useful in the beginning. It helps you build control. But if you only practice slowly, your mouth will only learn slow movements. Real conversations don't happen slowly. They have a rhythm. They have speed. They have flow. So yes, start slow. Let your mouth get comfortable. But then, gradually, you need to speed up. You need to challenge your mouth to keep up with your thoughts. This is how muscle memory forms. Repetition at increasing speeds. Slow and correct first, then a bit faster, then faster again, until your mouth doesn't need to think. It just moves. Think about learning to tie your shoes. At first, every loop was slow and careful. You had to focus. But now, you do it without looking, without thinking. Your fingers just know. That's muscle memory.
Your mouth can develop the same memory for English, but only through repetition, only by moving, only by speaking out loud over and over until the movements become automatic. And here's the part most people miss. You don't need to practice everything at once. You don't need perfect sentences from day one. You just need to focus on small pieces, one sound, one word, one short phrase. Repeat it until your mouth owns it. When your mouth owns a sound, it means you can make it without thinking. The movement is stored. And once you own 10 sounds, 20 sounds, 50 sounds, you can combine them. You can build words, sentences, flow. But if you skip this step and jump straight to full conversations, your mouth will always be guessing. And guessing creates hesitation. Guessing creates freezing. Let me tell you what happens when you finally get this. You stop blaming yourself. You stop thinking you're not smart enough. You stop feeling like something is wrong with you, because you realize the problem was never you, it was the approach.
You were trying to fix something that wasn't broken. Your brain was fine. Your understanding was fine. What needed training was your mouth, and nobody told you that. Once this clicks, everything shifts. You stop searching for magic solutions. You stop looking for the perfect course. You realize the method is simple. Move your mouth. Repeat. Build memory. That's it. It's not exciting. It's not fancy. But it works because it's based on how your body actually learns. And here's the beautiful part. Once your mouth starts moving freely, once it stops freezing, once it builds memory, speaking becomes natural. Not because you studied harder, but because your mouth finally knows what to do. You'll notice it in small moments first. You answer a question without hesitating. A sentence comes out smooth, and you think, wait, I didn't even plan that. You realize you're not translating anymore. You're just speaking. And that feeling, that's what you've been searching for. That's what real confidence feels like. Not forced, not fake, natural, because your mouth is trained. This isn't about perfection. This isn't about sounding like someone else. It's about removing the block, making speaking feel normal instead of painful. Your brain and your mouth need to work together. Right now, they're not. Your brain is ahead. Your mouth is behind. But once you train your mouth, once you give it the repetition it needs, the gap closes. And when it closes, speaking stops being a fight. You've spent so much time training your brain. Now it's time to train your mouth. Not with more knowledge, with movement, with sound, with practice. Your mouth isn't broken. It's just been ignored. And the moment you start giving it attention, the moment you start moving it the way it needs to move, everything you already know will finally come out. You don't need more rules. You need more repetition. You don't need more tips. You need more movement. You don't need more motivation. You need muscle memory. And when your mouth catches up to your mind, you won't have to convince yourself to speak. You won't have to push. You'll just speak, because the system is finally trained. This isn't quick. This isn't a hack, but it's real. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. Your English isn't broken. Your method was. Now you know where the real block is. You know what needs to change. And knowing this is the beginning of everything else.